On a cold, snowy night, a lone campfire cuts through the darkness of the mountain. Near the fire, a bearded man warms himself while pouring a drink. Suddenly, footsteps in the snow approach him, slow and careful. Noticing the unexpected visitor, the guy takes a sip of his drink without looking away. Then, the newcomer introduces himself as Jay and says some guy named Johnny spoke highly of him. Simon Jones pulls out his phone and confirms his target's been located, saying he hardly recognized the guy. The bearded man is impressed he was found and asks if the union sent him out here. Our MC confirms he was hired by the union for this job. Simon describes him as an Asian assassin and figures he must be the legendary Jay. At this, the bearded man wonders if his comment was racist, and Jay admits it was a little. Right after, Simon mentions he heard Johnny was our MC's only friend, but Jay quickly corrects him, saying they're just close work colleagues. The bearded guy asks if they're from the same country, because of how close they are. However, Jay explains that Johnny is from Hong Kong and is Canadian, while he's Korean-American. The mood gets tense as the two stare each other down by the fire, which now burns even brighter. Without any warning, our main character charges right at his target. With that, the campfire explodes from the initial impact of the fight, throwing them both back. Simon manages to grab Jay's arm in mid-air, stopping a second strike. He then uses his opponent's own force against him, slamming him into the snow. But Jay recovers fast and counters with his blade, forcing Simon to defend himself. Our guy's expression is cold and calculating as he analyzes his target's every move. Their weapons clash hard, creating a shower of sparks in the dark night. Simon's weapon starts glowing with a blue energy, showing he's not just some normal dude. Seeing this, he goes on the offensive with a powerful swing, trying to hit the assassin. The bearded man spins around with a furious look, preparing a full-force attack. Jay barely dodges it, and Simon's blade suddenly turns red in the middle of the clash. Seizing the opening, our MC gets ready to strike and end the fight quickly. He manages to land a cut on Simon's side, who feels the impact of the grazing hit. Even injured, the bearded man grabs Jay with incredible strength, keeping him from getting away. Ignoring the pain, Simon spins with a devastating attack, putting our MC in danger. Realizing the threat, our main character throws his knife at top speed. The blade hits Simon's arm, but he ignores the pain and brings his axe down with everything he's got. With his eyes glowing red, Jay prepares for the final blow against his target. A moment later, he's standing over Simon's body, who admits the legendary reputation is well deserved. Lying in the snow, the bearded man says the union sent Jay to take him out for siding with Johnny. Our MC says he knows the union isn't happy about Johnny's new company, but Simon corrects him, saying they want to get rid of Johnny and his entire operation. He then asks if Jay thinks the union is in the wrong and asks for an honest answer. The bearded man explains that ever since the union monopolized the North American market, everything changed. Because of that, all assassins were reduced to taking whatever jobs the union offered. He continues, saying that even the office staff treats the assassins like dirt. After hearing all that, Simon asks again, wanting to know if Jay thinks they're in the wrong. Jay looks down at the lifeless body and replies that he doesn't usually make those kinds of judgments. With a dirty face, he states that he just does the job he's given, no questions asked. In his last breath, Simon says he's really looking forward to what comes next. Simon's final words echo, wondering what the next situation and job will be for Jay. With his mission complete, our main character walks away, leaving a trail in the snow. Alone again, he seems to be thinking over everything that just happened. The scene cuts to the massive union building, showing where the orders come from. In a meeting room, Jay is told that the data on his new target has already been sent. Checking his phone, he realizes the situation might be exactly as Simon predicted. On the screen, a photo of Johnny appears as his next target to be eliminated. At that moment, a memory flashes back of Johnny offering him a drink. Jay says they're just colleagues, but the memory shows them sharing a toast. It's explained that the union sometimes pairs up assassins for jobs that need more people. We then see their first meeting, where Johnny introduces himself after a mission. The two shake hands, and our main character introduces himself very bluntly. As they leave the area, Johnny remarks that it must be fate they're working together. Because of this, he suggests they become friends, but Jay shuts him down, saying he doesn't have friends. Johnny just smiles and says that's great, because he just got a new one. Johnny insists that Jay should take the chance to make a friend, while our MC just grumbles. The flashback shows that Johnny was so persistent, he became the only person close to our main character. Sitting at a bar, Johnny offers a drink and asks if Jay is interested in becoming a closer colleague. From there, he invites him to become his business partner, leaving the assassin completely surprised. With a smile, Johnny reveals he's starting his own company because he can't stand the union system anymore. Plus, he's tired of the union taking a huge cut of his profits from every mission. Because of that, he invites Jay to join his new company, believing they'd make a great team. Our guy turns down the offer on the spot, and Johnny is shocked, asking why he rejected it. With a distant look, Jay explains that he believes life and work should be done alone. Johnny sighs and admits he was already expecting that answer, since he knew his colleague's personality. At this, Jay questions why he even asked if he already knew the answer, but Johnny just drinks in silence. Right after, he warns that if his business gets big, the union might send Jay to eliminate him. Back in the present, our main character understands his old friend's warning as he confirms the new target. The man in front of him corrects him, saying the mission is against Johnny Wong's entire company. The reward for this job is $25 million, an amount that would let him retire. Our MC questions why the payout is so high when the union has its own guys. The representative explains that a direct assault would cause too much damage, so they prefer a more precise approach. He also claims that few assassins can handle a mission of this size alone, and Jay is the most reliable one. Hearing this, Jay accepts the contract, but with one condition, and promises that Johnny's company will be destroyed. In return, he demands that Johnny's life be spared, which leaves the man from the union pretty surprised. Our guy reminds him that without him, the union would be in a really tough spot for this mission. So, the representative agrees to the deal, but Johnny can't be given a chance to rebuild, and Jay agrees. The scene shifts to a bustling city street as the sun sets on the horizon. Walking down the sidewalk, he wonders why he made that demand, and if he even cares about Johnny's life. He figures he just didn't want to be the one to take out his old colleague. Suddenly, a kid with a smile on his face approaches him, trying to sell a bracelet. The boy says a mysterious power is in the bracelet's knots and that Jay might need it. Our main character is intrigued by this and asks what kind of power it is. With a big grin, the kid replies that it's the power to live a new life. Jay thinks about the boy's words and decides to take one of the bracelets. With the newly bought bracelet on his wrist, he decides he's going to start over after this mission. To do that, our MC needs to finish the job and leave a trail of destruction behind him. The $25 million reward makes him think that maybe it's time to retire. However, the job isn't over yet, and more enemies are rushing toward him nonstop. A huge crowd charges at him, and Jay wonders what he'll do with his life after this. With a dirty face, he realizes he's never once stopped to think about a future away from this life. The scene cuts to Johnny's office, where he's calmly watching the city while having a drink. Just then, the door opens, and our main character enters the room for the final showdown. Seeing his condition, Johnny remarks that his company must have gotten pretty big for the union to send their best. Without a second thought, the assassin accepts the drink and downs it in one go. He then slams the glass on the floor, shattering it into 1,000,000 pieces. Jay announces that his company is finished because he destroyed everything with his own hands. Johnny notices his injuries and says that our MC doesn't look like he's in one piece either. Suddenly, Jay throws something that explodes in a blinding flash of light to stun his opponent. With that, Johnny uses the opening to lunge forward with a quick and precise attack. Our main character is completely caught off guard by his opponent's speed. With an explosive burst of speed, Johnny crosses the room in the blink of an eye. He lands a brutal blow that sends the assassin flying across the room. After that, his former colleague draws his own blade, ready for a fight. Down on the floor, our MC tries to get up, but his body won't cooperate. Johnny grabs him furiously, yelling and asking why he betrayed him. He keeps demanding to know the reason for the betrayal, while landing heavy blows. With his eyes red with rage, he presses the knife against Jay's neck. The blade gets closer, but our main character's eye glows with a blue light. At the last second, Jay manages to deflect the blow with a lightning-fast move. The counterattack creates a massive shockwave that shakes the entire room. Even hurt, our guy pushes through the pain and prepares his response. He lands a powerful punch right in Johnny's face. The blow sends them both crashing to the floor, exhausted after the exchange. Now, Jay wonders how to complete his mission without having to end Johnny's life. Lying on the floor, our MC realizes he took a lot of damage in the fight. Suddenly, a voice praises his performance while clapping slowly. Our main character turns and asks who the mysterious man is that just showed up. It's the representative from the union, who is brought back up to ensure the mission's success. A moment later, laser sights appear on Johnny's body, sending Jay into a panic. The soldiers are ready to fire, and our MC tries to stop them. Without hesitation, he throws himself in front of Johnny, shielding him with his own body. The bullets rip through him, but he manages to shout his friend's name. Filled with rage, Jay screams that sparing Johnny was part of their deal. Even wounded, he glares at the representative, who tells him not to get so worked up. Our main character's eyes are filled with hatred and fury over the betrayal. The man adjusts his glasses and coldly says that it's all just business. He then explains that people like Jay and Johnny are a threat to the union. His glasses gleam as he states that they threaten the organization's business interests. With his eyes glowing, Jay explodes with rage, yelling if this is what he calls business. Ignoring his screams, the Union soldiers open fire without any mercy. Riddled with bullets, our main character falls backward with no chance of survival. Lying on the ground, the bracelet on his wrist begins to glow with a mysterious light. Suddenly, a cosmic energy surrounds his body, and a new power awakens. With the help of the bracelet, his consciousness is transported to a different place. The scene changes to a busy street at night, and Jay wonders what just happened. Looking at his hand, he sees the glowing bracelet and questions if he's even alive. Outside, a panicked man explains that he accidentally hit a delivery driver. Our MC realizes he's in Korea, and the driver is refusing to call the police. Faced with this, he understands that he has possessed the body of the delivery guy who was hit. Jay gets up and calls out to the man, who turns around, startled by the situation. Without wasting a second, he unleashes all his rage on the driver with a powerful punch. The man gets wailed on, desperately yelling for someone to call the cops. Our main character continues the assault with a fury he's never felt before. After the fight, he realizes he passed away in the United States and was reborn in a new body. Even without understanding how it all happened, our guy is now in a car in Korea. With a look full of hatred, he knows exactly what he needs to do and decides to press his luck. Driving through the city, Jay vows to get revenge on everyone who betrayed him and ended his life. He stops the car and remembers he's in Korea, so things will be a little different. From there, Jay realizes he can't just drive to the United States for his revenge. Besides, the Union isn't the kind of organization you can just find anywhere. Our MC feels exhausted. Dying and coming back to life in such a short time was a lot to handle. Because of that, he decides to go to the previous owner's home to get some rest. To do that, he knows he needs detailed information on his target to act accordingly. Nowadays, you just have to hack a phone to easily get all of someone's personal data. So, he uses the new body's face to unlock the device with facial recognition. In just a few seconds, the phone is unlocked, and he has access to everything he needs to know. Soon after, our main character arrives at the small apartment of the body's previous owner. The place is pretty simple, and he easily found the address on the accident victim's phone. Opening the fridge, Jay notices there's no food and finds only a single bottle of water. Using the phone, he finds out the details of the new body, a 27-year-old named Jin Jae Hyun. The guy's life went downhill after college, and he ended up with a massive debt from bad investments. After chugging the whole bottle, Jay tosses the empty bottle in the trash. Still thinking about the previous owner's life, he reflects on how sad Jin's life was, ending tragically because of a drunk driver. Suddenly, loud banging on the door startles him as someone yells Jin Jae Hyun's name. Checking his phone, he sees it's past 1 in the morning and wonders who's making so much noise. When he opens the door, our MC finds 2 men in suits and asks what they want. One of the guys grabs him and says they're here to collect the debt Jin Jae Hyun left behind. The shouting gets the attention of a neighbor, who peeks through her door to see what's going on. She seems worried about the commotion, but doesn't dare step out to help with the dangerous situation. Our main character figures out these must be the loan sharks the body's previous owner borrowed money from. Having no patience for the noise, Jay slams the door in their faces, making the collectors even more furious. The men barge into the apartment, and one of them spots the car key near the fridge, getting excited about the find. The group's leader snatches the key and yells at Jay for buying a car instead of paying his debt. Very calmly, our guy says he doesn't have any money and offers the car as part of the debt payment. One of the loan sharks gets ticked off and yells at our MC for his bold attitude. However, the leader tells him to calm down and motions for his men to huddle up. He reminds his goons that coming back empty-handed is not an option for them. With that, the 3 of them head down to the street to check out the car Jay offered. The boss whispers to his subordinate and tells him to lowball the car's value as much as possible. A moment later, he says the vehicle barely covers a few months of interest on the debt. Pointing at the dents, he yells that anyone can see the car has been in an accident. Our main character walks closer and asks if just looking at the outside is enough. The loan shark is confused by the question and doesn't get what he's trying to say. Then Jay shows him the car's interior by slamming his head against the window. The other 2 collectors are in total shock, frozen by the sudden violence. Without wasting a second, our MC goes after the other loan sharks with everything he's got. He easily dodges a punch and prepares his counterattack with precision. With a clean shot to the stomach, the assassin takes down the second goon effortlessly. At this, the boss realizes that cowards like them always tremble when they lose the numbers advantage. All alone, the head loan shark faces our MC and realizes he only has 2 choices. The first would be to run, but he opts for the second, a final act of desperation. Our main character stays on high alert, thinking the man is about to pull a gun, but the loan shark pulls out a knife, and Jay remembers that things are very different in Korea. With a battle cry, the man charges at the guy with the blade in hand. Our protagonist easily sidesteps, and the loan shark's knife gets stuck in the car's hood. The man can't believe he missed the shot and is left completely vulnerable to an attack. Seizing the opportunity, Jay lands a devastating punch right in his opponent's face. He then finishes the fight with a powerful kick to the loan shark on the ground. With a swift move, our main character catches the knife in the air before it hits the pavement. He then pins down the last loan shark and presses the blade against his neck. With a cold stare, Jay warns that if they ever come back, he won't hesitate, and the man agrees. He tells the loan sharks to take the car and get out of there, leaving their boss completely confused. With no other choice, the man gets in the car with his goons, still furious and scared. Through the rearview mirror, he watches Jay and wonders what kind of guy he just went up against. Inside the car, the boss wonders why the guy didn't fight back sooner, and why he gave them the car. Watching them drive off, Jay thinks to himself that the car was stolen and would only cause trouble, so he decides to get some rest. The night goes on peacefully at the apartment building, with just one lit window in the darkness. As our MC is about to go inside, he hears a voice call out to him and gets annoyed. The neighbor who was peeking earlier shows up, and he wonders what she wants now. With a smile on her face, the woman says she saw everything he did to the loan sharks on the street. She says she was about to call the police, but he took care of the guys before she could. The girl comments that he's way stronger than he looks, and Jay asks if she's going to report him. She shakes her head with a smile and confesses she's kinda interested in him after what she saw. Not giving her the time of day, our main character says he needs to rest and leaves her in the hallway. The neighbor is left totally confused as Jay walks into his apartment to finally relax. A moment later, he crashes onto the bed, exhausted from the crazy night's events. Closing his eyes, the guy tries to sleep and forget all his problems for a few hours. However, he suddenly wakes up hungry and thinks about grabbing a burger, even though it's late. The scene shows a 24-hour burger joint, indicating where our main character is headed. While eating his meal, our MC remembers he thought of this place because of Johnny. In a flashback, Johnny asks why they always eat at the same burger joint. His old friend thought that being a world-class assassin, Jay would have a more refined palate. But Jay explains that the burger is perfect because the chain is everywhere, and the taste is always the same. He goes on to say that even the fries are made the exact same way to maintain the standard. Because of that, he could eat without any risk of getting sick and messing up an important mission. Plus, the place is open 24 hours, which was perfect for their line of work. Johnny gets annoyed and flicks Jay's cup because his logic was just too convincing. Back in the present, our main character remembers that Johnny is gone, and the union was responsible. He thinks that they both met their end that night, but for some reason, only he managed to come back. With a heavy heart, he blames himself for his friend's demise when a woman sits down at his table. The pink-haired woman scoots away, and he's left confused by the sudden situation. As he sits down with his tray, our MC gets a feeling he's seen her somewhere before. Suddenly, the woman's wrist starts to glow with a strange, bright blue light. At the same time, Jay's bracelet also glows, and he wonders what the heck is going on. Our main character wonders why the light appeared again and looks down at his wrist. A moment later, he notices that the pink-haired woman also has a glowing bracelet. The woman looks just as surprised as he is by the unexpected turn of events. The two of them stare at each other in the diner as the blue light completely envelops their bodies. Then, the woman asks if he's Jay, and our main character is shocked that she knows his name. The bracelet's energy continues to shine brighter, hinting at a connection between them. Without hesitating, she says she's Johnny, leaving the guy even more confused by it all. At this, Jay is completely frozen, and a memory of his friend suddenly flashes in his mind. With wide eyes, our main character asks if she can really be Johnny. Filled with rage, the woman charges forward, screaming that he's the one who ended Johnny's life. Our main character is completely stunned, not understanding the accusation he just received. Just like that, she tackles him to the ground with a swift move and easily pins him down. Furious, she yells that she thought he was a real friend, and Jay remembers Johnny's final moments. He understands why Johnny thinks he was the one who took him out and tries to speak up to explain the situation. With difficulty, he yells that it wasn't him, but the union that took them both down that night. Johnny is surprised and asks if he was also eliminated by the union, and Jay confirms they were both betrayed. Suddenly, an angry employee shows up and yells that they can't be making a scene like that in here. With that, the two of them get up awkwardly and apologize for the commotion as the man glares at them. The employee continues mopping the floor in silence, but with a very annoyed look on his face. He grumbles that if they were in such a hurry, they should have gotten a room, and that he's jealous of the situation. Sitting at the table, Johnny crosses his arms and stares at Jay, still trying to process everything that happened. He accuses him of turning down the partnership, but accepting the mission to destroy the company just to save him. Jay eats his meal and Johnny calls him weird, but he says that dying and coming back to life is way weirder. After that, Johnny gets closer and points out the differences in his new body, but the guy tells him to stop. Looking at the empty tray, he wonders why all of this suddenly happened to them. Our main character gets thoughtful and remembers the bracelet's glow, realizing it's the cause of everything. So, he asks if Johnny bought a bracelet, and he confirms he got one from a kid on the street. Jay remembers the boy's words about the power to live a new life, and Johnny is taken aback. Our MC reveals he bought a bracelet too and concludes that it's to blame for all of this. Faced with this reality, Johnny asks what they're going to do next, and our main character stays silent. With his eyes red with hatred, our MC says they need to get revenge on the Union. But Johnny cuts him off and asks what he plans to do right at this very moment. From there, she asks if he's already found the home of the body's owner, and Jay confirms he has. With that, Johnny gets up and says they should head over there, but the guy has no energy left. She explains that she's exhausted because it took a lot of energy to dig her way out of the ground. A flashback shows her hand breaking through the dirt of a grave, and she says she woke up buried. Given the situation, Johnny decides he needs a shower, and Jay agrees that's the best thing to do. The scene cuts to the apartment, showing that the two of them went to our main character's place. A moment later, Johnny hops in the shower to clean up after everything he's been through that day. Meanwhile, Jay waits in the room, still thinking about the bizarre situation they've gotten themselves into. Walking down the street, Johnny remarks that if the Union hadn't double-crossed him, their plan would have worked. Because of that, she would have hated him forever, and in the end, he would have taken her out anyway. Our main character then asks if she still hates him enough to want to get rid of him. Without looking back, Johnny says no and keeps walking calmly down the dark street. With a smile, she says he already paid the price with his own life, and that's enough for her. Back in the present, our main character is thinking about Johnny's words about him realizing his mistake. Suddenly, the bathroom door opens, and Johnny comments that the hot water in this place is great. Hearing that his friend is done with his shower, our main character turns around and is completely shocked by the sight. Johnny steps out of the bathroom with no clothes on and complains that his new long hair takes forever to dry. Our MC totally freaks out, covers his eyes, and yells for Johnny to get dressed, like, right now. Johnny asks if he should wear the dirt-caked clothes, and the guy understands the tricky situation. Out of patience, our main character throws some clothes at Johnny and tells him to get dressed immediately. After the chaos, the two get ready for bed, with Jay on the bed and Johnny on a mattress on the floor. Lying on the floor, Johnny asks how they're going to get revenge on the Union for everything that happened. Our main character reminds him that he's going to return the favor, and Johnny wants to know the exact plan. With a determined look, Jay replies that he'll do it through business, leaving his friend completely confused. He tells them to get some sleep, as they'll have plenty of time to talk, and Johnny agrees they don't need to rush. The next day in a taxi, Johnny's phone rings, and he asks if he needs to answer a call from the girl's dad. On the way to Johnny's new place, he complains about being in a woman's body while Jay looks pretty much the same. Johnny is surprised by the joke, but our main character says he's serious while looking at his reflection. He realizes he was so focused that he didn't even notice they'd been speaking Korean the whole time. Johnny guesses their case is similar to people who wake up from a coma speaking another language. A moment later, the car stops, and the driver announces they've reached their final destination. Getting out of the vehicle, the two look at the place, and Johnny asks if this is really it. The pair stands in front of a massive mansion with a very imposing iron gate. From there, Johnny walks up and rings the doorbell for someone to let them in. Our main character is confused when he hears the name Sami and wonders how this is even possible. With a lost look, he can't make sense of the bizarre situation that's unfolding. A voice from the intercom tells Somi to come in, and Johnny confirms he's on his way. With a smile, Johnny turns around and says that it looks like this is his new home. With that, she says her goodbyes and tells Jay she'll swing by his apartment later to talk. Jay thinks to himself that his old friend is going to have a massive headache pretending to be family to strangers. Back at his apartment, he flops onto the bed and thinks it was a relief to be reborn into a lonely body. Looking at the phone, he notices that Jin Jae Hyun had no friends and lived without contact with anyone. Our main character then reflects that he also lived that way right up until the day he passed. Our MC thinks about how he lived his entire life with no family and no friends around. But he corrects himself while drinking some water, remembering that Johnny would get mad at that statement. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupts him, and he assumes his old friend has arrived. When he opens the door, he's surprised to see that his visitor got there much faster than expected. However, a mysterious man attacks him with full force, giving him no time to react. With quick reflexes, our main character manages to block the blow with his arm. The intruder is a guy with glasses and a hat who pulls out a knife for a second attack. Without hesitation, the man lunges forward with the blade in hand, trying to get a clean hit on Jay. Our main character easily dodges, and the attacker stumbles past him without success. With a precise move, he grabs the man's wrist and stops the knife in mid-air. The intruder is shocked to see his attack completely neutralized. From there, Jay twists the guy's arm and disarms him with an impressive technique. With that, the knife flies out of the attacker's hand and clatters on the floor. The look on the man's face shows he did not expect this turn of events in the fight. Now disarmed, the intruder faces our main character, who braces for whatever comes next. With his eyes glowing blue, our main character prepares for the counterattack. A moment later, he lands a devastating punch that sends the man flying across the room. The impact sends the intruder crashing to the floor with no chance to defend himself. Jay approaches the attacker and asks who sent him to his apartment. The man's face is all bruised up, and our main character starts considering a possibility. With a dark look, he questions if the Union could be behind this surprise attack. The intruder doesn't answer and just stares at the guy, his glasses broken, looking terrified. On the floor, the knife and a broken bottle show a glimpse of what happened there. Suddenly, the man scrambles to his feet and runs to grab the knife for another attack. But our main character is much faster and lands another punch with all his might. With that, the intruder falls to the ground again, his face a bloody mess. Jay picks up the blade, thinking there's no way the Union could know about his current situation. So, he approaches the fallen man to find out who the real client is. Without wasting any time, our main character moves in to end the fight once and for all. He presses the blade to the intruder's neck to force him to tell the truth about the attack. With the knife pressed against him, our main character demands to know who sent the attacker there. The man trembles in fear, stuttering, unable to answer the guy's question. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Johnny faces the girl's siblings, who look very serious. The girl's parents hug him, relieved, saying they were so worried about her. But Johnny notices that the siblings don't look worried, but rather terrified, as if they've seen a ghost. From this, he realizes the two of them are involved in the death of the girl he possessed. A moment later, the brother steps outside and makes a call, yelling furiously into the phone. He screams that the contractor swore he had taken care of the job and asks if the girl came back from the dead. Losing patience, he tells him to forget it and asks if they checked the security cameras at the gate. The person on the other end confirms that Somi arrived in a taxi with a man who left shortly after. Hearing this, he orders the contractor to find and eliminate Jay, as he could become a problem. Angrily, he yells that he won't pay a dime more since the job failed and the girl came back alive. The man is furious for having paid for a job that was completely botched. Just then, his sister Ju Kang approaches and calls him over to talk about the situation. She asks what happened with Somi, and her brother replies that the hired assassin failed the mission. However, the brother says that this is for the best, leaving Ju Kang very confused by his coldness. Ju Kang begs him to stop this madness and reminds him that Somi is still their sister. He yells that Somi is the mistress's daughter and they're only half-siblings, but Ju Kang doesn't see it that way. He then reminds her that their mother's illness got much worse after she found out about Somi. On top of that, he fears their father will give the company to Somi and asks if their mother would rest in peace. At her question, the brother explodes with rage and screams Ju Kang's name furiously. He then calms down and says he's doing all of this for her, but Ju Kang looks incredibly sad. The scene cuts back to Jay's apartment as the sun sets over the city skyline. The intruder reveals he was sent by the same person who ordered the hit on Somi, but doesn't know the client's identity. Our main character thinks that if he takes this guy out now, it'll be a huge hassle to clean up the mess. He knows he's not a professional assassin anymore, and can't just call a cleanup crew like before. Meanwhile, the attacker wonders how Jay is so strong and fast when he just looks like a normal guy. Because of this, he decides to wait for an opening to strike again when the guy is distracted. But our main character sees right through his intention and moves in fast, pressing the knife against his neck. The intruder realizes it won't work. His experience and instincts tell him he doesn't stand a chance. With a cold look, our main character senses that the intruder is not a real threat to him. From there, he asks if the man wants to live, and the attacker nods, terrified. At this, Jay tells him to leave and say that he couldn't find him at the apartment. He also warns the man not to take any more jobs related to them. With one last threat, our main character says that if he ever sees him again, he won't be so lucky. The man runs off and Jay closes his apartment door, finally getting some peace. Outside, the intruder calls his client and is asked if the job is done. He lies, saying the target wasn't home, and the client screams furiously on the other end. The scene cuts to the mansion, where Somi's brother is wondering about a possible refund. Out of patience, the assassin says he'll return the money and hangs up on the client. The brother is shocked and furious at being defied like that by the contractor. Suddenly, Johnny walks by him and congratulates him on a job well done, leaving the guy stunned. Watching his old friend walk away, the man is speechless and just watches in silence. Filled with rage, he decides to find another assassin who can do the job right. Sitting at a table, Johnny reveals he figured out the situation by snooping through Han Somi's phone. He discovers that the man who welcomed him is Han Kung-moon, the chairman of the HK Group. The two who claim to be his siblings are Han Ju-suk and Han Ju-kang, the children of the first wife. The first wife passed from an illness, the second in an accident, and Somi, the youngest daughter, was taken out. He wonders if it was the siblings who got rid of her for the inheritance and thinks it's pretty likely. Just then the sister Ju-kang approaches the table and calls him by Somi's name. She then sits down and asks if he's okay and what happened the night before. Faking amnesia, Johnny says he doesn't remember anything and that he woke up on a hill from drinking too much. He wonders if the girl is just doing this to test how much he knows about the situation. However, Ju-kang takes his hand and thanks him for coming back home safely. Johnny notices that her face shows genuine concern and that she's not faking it. Plus, he can't help but think that Somi's sister is pretty cute with that expression. What they don't know is that the brother is watching the whole scene from a distance through a glass door. Noticing her brother approaching, June quickly lets go of Johnny's hand in fear. She warns him to be careful, because her brother will definitely try to get rid of him if he gets in the way of his plans. With tears in her eyes, the woman feels pathetic for being too scared to say anything directly. With tears in her eyes, Ju-kang is confused and asks why Johnny called her sis. Johnny wipes her tears and tells her not to cry, saying he understands how she feels about everything. After that, Ju-kang gets lost in thought, wondering if Somi always talked to her that way. Far away, Johnny calls Jay and says he has the situation under control, asking if he's okay. She's surprised to hear an assassin attacked him, but trusts that he handled the problem. Over the phone, our main character explains it was the same person who sent the hit on Han Somi. He says he tried to find out who it was, but the attacker didn't know the real client's identity. Eating a snack, Jay says he needs to take care of that guy before doing anything else. Johnny reminds him of their earlier conversation about getting revenge on the Union through the business world. Taking a sip of his drink, he says he thought she would tell him what to do since she has the experience. Lying in bed, Johnny confirms the idea is to build a company exactly like she did before. She calls him hopeless but reveals there's a shortcut to becoming a boss quickly. Our main character is curious and asks what this shortcut would be to start their plan. Her answer about acquiring an existing business leaves the guy completely surprised. Night falls outside the window as Jay thinks about the new idea for his grand revenge. While brushing his teeth, he mulls over the idea of acquiring an existing business for his revenge plot. Suddenly, our main character stops what he's doing when he hears a noise outside. A moment later, very loud bangs on the door break the silence of his small apartment. He wonders if the assassin came back even after being warned never to show his face again. However, a voice yells Jin Jae-hyun's name, and our main character recognizes it instantly. Opening the door, Jay finds the loan sharks again and asks why they came back. With bruised faces, they yell furiously that they're here to collect the debt one way or another, but a blonde man appears and the goons bow, calling him boss and clearing a path. Our main character is surprised, but a smile appears on his face as he understands the situation. The guy introduces himself as the head of the loan shark company the body's previous owner borrowed from. Seeing this, Jay realizes he's just found the perfect business to start his plan. The scene cuts to a car parked outside, showing what the loan sharks took. Outside, the boss vapes with a very angry expression on his face. Bak Jum-tae, the president of Platinum Finance, yells at his men for taking a piece of junk car. He keeps complaining that he has to pay tribute, and the goons apologize, terrified. What makes him even angrier is that his men got beat up by the debtor himself. Out of patience, he kicks his goon and yells that the guy is just some random delivery driver. The other man says he was no joke, and the boss scoffs, suggesting he's some legendary assassin. Tired of the conversation, Bak Jum-tae decides he's going to handle the situation himself. With a serious look, he says he's going to see this guy who's such a good fighter for himself. Back in the present, our main character is asked if he was the one who beat up his employees. The man sizes him up and says he doesn't look like much, but he'll have to come with them anyway. From there, he warns him that they have a special way of dealing with debtors like him. The goons believe Jay is going to refuse to go and will fight with all his might. However, to everyone's surprise, our main character agrees to go with them without a fuss. The loan shark boss is confused and wonders why he's giving himself up so easily. He concludes that Jay realized he's on a different level and must have some fighting experience. The scene cuts to an abandoned warehouse with the goons smoking cigarettes outside. One of them wonders why the guy followed them so easily, and the other admits he has no clue who he is. Inside the place, our main character is tied to a chair but seems perfectly calm and relaxed. Sitting in the chair, our main character scans the abandoned warehouse with a curious look. He notes the building's structure and asks how they control the temperature in such a large space. He then looks at the gym equipment and questions the monthly rent. At this, Baekjum-tae approaches him with an air of superiority and gets ready to speak. The boss asks if he's here to look at real estate, but our main character is thinking about how he's going to take over this place. From there, Baekjum-tae explains that their business makes more profit when the debt drags on. However, he says that with debtors like Jay, it's better to get the principal back as quickly as possible. The man demands payment on the spot, but the guy asks how he's supposed to pay when he can't even afford the interest. So, Baekjum-tae suggests he call everyone he knows, and Jay thinks to himself that no one would help him. He reflects that no one would lend more money to someone who's already resorted to loan sharks. With a sly grin, the boss says what he needs is some desperation in his voice to get the money. To achieve that, he says his employees are going to help put that desperation in his voice. Without warning, the goons attack him with baseball bats with all their strength. As the violence unfolds, Baekjum-tae calmly uses his vape, watching the scene. All beaten up, our main character begs them to stop, saying he'll call anyone. With a satisfied smile, Baekjum-tae says his voice is perfect and tells them to give him back his phone. With that, one of the goons hands the device to our main character, who is still tied to the chair. In the screen's reflection, we see the guy's eyes glowing red with a terrifying fury. Suddenly, he snaps the ropes with his strength, and the nearby goon is completely shocked. Without wasting a second, Jay uses the phone as a weapon and smashes it into the loan shark's face with all his might. The other men are stunned and wonder if our main character suddenly went crazy. He moves with insane speed and goes after the next target with the phone in hand. With a swift blow, the assassin hits another goon right in the face, blinding him instantly. The man screams in pain, clutching his eyes, as our main character prepares for the next one. Taking advantage of the confusion, he throws something and shatters the warehouse lights, plunging the room into near darkness. With all the goons on the floor, he slowly walks toward Baekjum-tae. The boss yells at the men outside, asking why they didn't come in during the commotion. But the cowards outside just cover their ears and pretend they can't hear anything. He realizes he can't count on those idiots and gets ready to fight alone. From there, the loan shark boss lunges forward with a powerful kick to end the fight. However, our main character easily blocks the punch, surprising his opponent. He realizes the loan shark boss is fast, but it's nothing he can't handle with ease. With a focused gaze, the guy analyzes Baekjum-tae's every move for a counterattack. A moment later, he lands a powerful punch right in the boss's face, who feels the impact. Our main character understands that the loan shark is tough and isn't in a leadership position by chance. Baekjum-tae is shocked that he dodged all of his blows so easily. He believes the guy has no chance against someone who's been in real fights. With his eyes glowing blue, Jay dodges again and prepares his precise counterattack. The punch lands square, and the loan shark boss feels the full force of the impact on his face. Without giving him a second to breathe, our main character continues the barrage of blows nonstop. Baekjum-tae tries to defend himself, but the guy's speed is incredibly impressive and powerful. He then leaps into the air and prepares a devastating kick to finish the fight. The blow sends the boss to the floor without the slightest chance to fight back. The loan shark gets pummeled as our main character unleashes all his pent-up rage. With a cold stare, Jay shows no mercy and continues the assault without a moment's hesitation. With a dirty hand, our main character says he still can't hear the desperation in his voice. Faced with the threat, the loan shark boss is completely shocked and terrified of the situation. Lying on the ground, he begs Jay to stop the violence, saying they can talk now. With a smile, our main character asks if they can finally talk business. A while later, with Baekjum-tae all beaten up, Jay announces that he's taking over the company. With his face covered in bruises, the loan shark asks if this is a hostile takeover attempt. The man calls him old-fashioned, but our main character says that's how the underworld works. Baekjum-tae questions Jay's knowledge and offers to explain the details of the situation. He reveals that Seoul's underworld is divided between two organizations called Seogwang and Dongshin. His company operates in Seogwang territory, which is why they have to pay tribute to the organization. Our main character grabs a glass of water and asks what that has to do with his plan. Baekjum-tae warns that if he messes with the company, Seogwang will take him out quickly. Completely unfazed, Jay sips his water and says he'll just take over Seogwang too, leaving the loan shark in total shock. The boss tries to explain that our main character doesn't understand the power of the organization that runs Seoul. At this, our main character says that now he clearly understands the extent of the power they have. With a confident look, he reveals his plan to take over Seogwang and then Dongshin right after. In doing so, our main character declares that he will completely rule Seoul's underworld. Hearing this, Baekjum-tae is shocked and realizes the guy is a complete lunatic.